turn the recorder on? Okay,
Perfect.
great. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call vote. So let me say, Greg,
Here.
Kathy,
Here.
Alan,
There's, wait, Michelle, there's two Kathys. There's Kathy and Catherine, so.
oh, okay. It's Kathy on my participant screen.
No, okay, Kat.
She's the,
I'm your new
She's the new
recorder.
recorder. She's
Oh,
the
you're
minute
the
taker.
recorder. Oh, hi, Kathy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, then Alan,
present.
Dorinda,
Here.
Catherine,
Here,
Chris, Matt, Matthew Lord. Chris, you're here. I can see you. I can't hear you though. Matthew Lord,
You're on mute, Matt.
here,
hi Matt. Ginger,
Here.
Ginger, you're on mute. Jen,
We heard her.
okay.
Yeah, I'm
You
here.
can- Oh, hi there. Tupper,
Here,
Jen, I'm sure you said yes. And Tupper.
here.
That it? Yes, that's all I have.
Yeah, and just to
Okay.
make a note that Jen is here as a non-voting member, but with a very strong interest for Irving, and she was on our planning board before. For those that don't know that, as well as she was on the school committee. So her and someone else may be sharing responsibilities to follow our work. Jen, I don't remember the other person. Who was that?
It's Jackie Boyden.
Thank you. And is she on the school committee, Jackie?
Nope, neither one of us are on school committee. But yeah, we're Gil Montague representatives for the school committee.
Okay.
But we're not actually on it anymore.
All right.
All right. Approve the minutes of June 26th.
I have two comments about the minutes. Kathy, on page 2, underneath the top box, the second line says elections with residency requirements. Elections take place every 4 years with, and maybe that's what we said, but it should be state elections, not national elections there.
State
moved.
elections, state elections.
So
Yeah,
moved.
and the only other comment I have, Catherine mentioned about requesting follow-up after our meetings of what we accomplished, and we will do that after this meeting. We will send everyone what you've done up to this date.
And now
That's it
I'll
for
make
the
a
minute.
motion to accept with those changes.
Second.
All right, I have some comments when you're at the discussion period, which I assume you're at
Yep,
now.
we're at discussion.
You're right, okay. So on page 3, where it carried over the paragraph, at least on my computer, it started with it starts with Matt then made a motion to adopt option 3. Do you see where that is? So I just want it to be clear that toward the end of it says, Alan apologized for not hearing Matt's motion. I don't want to think I went to sleep. Matt's motion due to an internet connection issue. So if that could just be inserted so they understand why I was off the planet for a minute. And so that was one. And the other one was on the very last page. Just so our title's right, it's the 6-Town Regional Planning Board. We're an actual board, not a committee. That's all. I guess there's no other discussion, so you can move forward with your vote.
What? Does the person who made the motion accept the Alan's amendments?
Yes.
Well, was the motion to accept the minutes as amended? Because we
Yeah, it's a
hadn't-
motion to accept the minutes as amended, according to Mac and Alan.
Okay, yeah.
Second.
And the second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, we have to do a roll call vote. Greg,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Dorinda,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
you said yes? Okay. Chris,
Yes.
Matthew,
Aye.
Ginger,
Yes,
did she? I can't hear Ginger.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Can I make a point, just a point of order in here? If you weren't at that last meeting, you should abstain from.
Oh, yeah,
approving the
thanks,
minutes.
Kathy. You're right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
May I make a second point of order, Catherine? Robert's rules are if you don't have to be at a minute, the meeting to actually voting or abstaining. What you have to do is by voting for the minutes, even if you weren't there, you're acknowledging that you read the minutes, you're aware of them, and you're voting. That's so you don't have to abstain if you weren't present at a meeting.
Okay.
But
well,
if you do vote in favor of them, you're saying I read them and I understand.
Well, I didn't know we were following Roberts, so thank you for that clarification, Alan.
Yeah, I would say general practice in Leiden, we do abstain if we're not there. So I'll abstain, just keeping practice with Leiden.
Okay. Tupper
Yes.
and Michelle, I'm going to abstain. Okay, and welcome Kathy for taking our minutes. We really appreciate it.
I was
So now we're going on.
years ago.
You what? I'm
I
sorry.
was Kate Belsky's counterpart in the Southwick Toll and Granville Regional School District for
Oh,
35 years.
great. Oh, well, we're glad
Nice
to
to
have
meet
you.
all. Nice to meet you all.
Okay, now we'll go to the discussion of proposed section 4. And is Matt going to do that or Steve?
Great, yes, I am going to do
Okay.
section 4 and Steve will do section 5. So
Okay.
last time you did great work getting through section 2. There were several significant issues there, and you worked through them, and I'm hoping that we can do the same tonight. There will be several parts here. Well, there will need to be some discussion. So, and the first, just under A, we've added several words at the end of that sentence where it says if there are any new schools, it used to just say that their location would be determined by the school committee. We have added, since that would be a very significant thing, that it would have to be approved by 2/3 vote of the committee. So that's up to you. You can leave the word determined in as is in the Hart Committee, or if you think that's more significant to put the 2/3 vote in, that's up to you. So we're interested in your comments about that.
Matt, is that common language where that's where the kind of authority lies that the school committee makes that determination, because it ties so much into the resources of the particular town, the location where it might be, and all of that.
It is typical for the school committee to make that decision. Obviously, we would hope that would be in concert with the select board and the towns. So but asking for 2/3 vote is just making it a little more restrictive that before a decision is made. But it's common, Alan.
Okay.
I have a question. So is the statement says that they actually approve the location, the site itself. Where in a town the school's going to be located. Is that the right way to interpret this?
Yes.
Hmm.
My thought is that the town in the first instance would ordinarily make that decision. And then I guess it goes to the school committee. It seems like requiring a 2/3 vote of the school committee makes it harder for the town to have its decision prevail. I would make it easier for the town to have its choice prevail and make it a simple majority of the school committee.
Of course, if it's a secondary school, it's not going to be in it. It has to be in some town, but it might not be in any one of the. It would be in one of the 6 towns. So it's not as simple as letting a select board in one town decide where the school is. But for elementary schools, that would be true, obviously, Tupper.
Can someone remind me how to raise my hand?
Well, Chris has his hand raised, but you go into react, the little heart at the
Oh,
bottom.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris is next, Alan.
So I was gonna ask if Mac could elaborate. I think he just answered kind of my question, but I was wondering if Mac could talk through the concerns around this, the pitfalls and concerns around this paragraph, like what we're trying to prevent or what we're trying to make happen here with this.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, this is not a change in the Hart Agreement. The words in black there are right from what's been negotiated. I can pull up the Gil Montague one too. I think it's the same, but I would have to look again specifically. Or Steve, maybe could you look up the Gil Montague regional agreement and see if that same language is in there? Because we know it's in the Pioneer Valley.
I'm not sure if I can do that, Mac, and lose where I got going. So,
Well,
but the one thing, Mac, let me tell you, the one thing that would happen is when you're building a school, you'd be going through MSBA, School Building Authority, and the School Building Authority would only recognize the region, not the individual towns. So at that point, it would be the school committee that would be taking the lead in that and working with the towns to do that. So, but again, that school committee is in charge of doing that and working with the towns, as Max said, to figure where they would put it. But it's going to be, the school would be in a member town. Obviously, they got to work at where's the site, what's the land going to be, where it would be. But again, the school committee has to make some decisions because they're in charge of the education for the district.
I'll comment just briefly that what I hear, it sounds like that when you have 6 of these towns making up a region, having kind of a mechanism to help decide if there's any disagreement. It sounds like that's the spirit of this.
I froze and I'm back right now. I don't know if you heard what I said.
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
But also, Chris and everyone, obviously the towns have to vote. If you're going to build a new school, there would have to be a lot of discussion in the communities, and it would have to be site locations, discussions, and people will have to be, in 6 towns, have to be willing to vote on that location. So I think there are quite a few ways that it can be, will have to be, it will have to be agreed to in a lot of steps. That's what I'm trying to say.
Michelle? Michelle?
Yes.
I
Sorry.
wanted to go back to Catherine's question because I was confused by the answer. I think her question was saying when they vote on the, when they vote on that, they're voting on the location, and the answer was yes. But when I read this, I don't see it that way. I see it as a condition, is that all schools would be within the member towns. That's a condition. And then any new school construction, and that's a separate issue. would be voted, by the school committee. Obviously, the location probably be included in that, but I thought that was clear as a condition of the construction where it would be in one of the towns. And I don't think that's what the answer that Catherine got.
Oh, you're right,
Okay.
Alan.
You have more, Mac, or no? Matthew, do you
I'm
have a
just looking.
question?
I have pulled up the Gil Montague regional agreement, and it just says children in grades 7 through 12 shall attend schools within the geographic limits of the school district and within a radius of 5 miles of the center of Montague Gill Bridge. So
Oh,
it's
that's specific.
basically right. So, I mean, again, we can say this however you want, but this is pretty common. That it's more general, and that it's a school committee prerogative about determining where the school should be.
Okay, Matt has his hand up.
Good. Piggyback on that last comment, that, yeah, the Gil Montague doesn't directly address it. Where it does address it, I think the place is in section 4, apportionment and payment of costs incurred by the district, which includes definition of capital costs, which shall include all expenses in the nature of capital outlay, such as the cost of acquiring land, the cost of constructing it, reconstructing it, adding to buildings, et cetera, and then that such costs will be apportioned to the towns based on enrollment. So it's dealt with in this is a school committee decision, and then this agreement deals with how that decision, the costs associated therewith, would be apportioned between the member towns of the school district.
Okay.
Mhm.
So with that said, I would say it sounds like we'd be okay with that language. Oh, Tupper, sorry.
Tupper, yeah.
Am I right in understanding that the only question that we're discussing is whether it should be a majority vote or a 2/3 vote of the school committee?
Yes.
Correct.
And if it's a 2/3 vote, I guess it would make it harder to get approval from the school committee for a particular site. Is that right?
Potentially.
Hmm.
Right. All right. I still think we ought to make it just a majority vote. I think the town's determination, after all it has to go through to get something cited, should carry a lot of weight.
Michelle, could we last time when you weren't here, we did several straw votes along the way to get a consensus of on a certain subject. I think we could have a straw vote on this, and someone could either make a motion to have it majority vote or the 2/3 vote, whichever you want to start with, and have a straw vote about it.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the language as written with the 2/3 vote.
Is there a second?
Or that it be a majority, whichever way you want us to have the vote.
Well,
Yeah,
her
we
motion,
got
her motion was as written.
2/3. Yeah. So we need a second.
I second
or
that.
not. Okay.
And am I being?
It's, no, Chris, you're fine. You seconded. I heard you. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
All right.
So
All those in,
no, wait, I got further discussion. So two things. The first being that I think for a straw vote, we don't really need a motion to accept. It's mostly just getting a sense of where the members are at without a formal motion so that we can get ourselves set up for that. And then secondly, the intent and content of the motion, is this to adopt all of section 4 or just for section 4 subparagraph A?
Just A.
Subparagraph A. That's all.
Okay.
So what is, Tupper, is your hand still up? Do you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I should have turned it off.
Michelle,
Okay.
Michelle, is a 2/3 vote 9.9? Is that would basically require 10?
Yes, it would. You round up.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
All right, so you need 10. If I'm doing this right,
It's a pretty high
someone check
standard.
me. Someone check me. Yeah, okay.
Should I
What are you
withdraw?
talking about? 10 out of
Members.
12?
Out of 13.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
came
Oh,
up to 9.
What?
I came up to 9. I did 13 times 0.667 and I got 8.61. 8.671.
Well, let's see. 3 times 8 is 24. Maybe I did something wrong. Oh, my scribbling. Yeah, I wanted to make sure we talked about what that would mean. So you got 8 or 9?
8.671, so you're gonna round up to 9.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's
Okay,
8.67.
so
8.667. So
So
9,
what is
yeah.
okay, so going back to what Matt said, straw vote, you just want to put your hands up and not do formal votes? Is that the pleasure of the committee?
Sure. Thumbs up or down.
Going forward, but we got a motion on the floor right now. We
Yeah,
got-
I can
done like
withdraw
somebody
my
else.
motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right,
can
let's just
withdraw my
do,
motion.
okay, thank you, Dorinda. Let's just do hands.
This is a straw vote. If you
Yeah,
raise
this
your
is a
hand,
straw vote. Yeah.
and if
And
you raise,
your hand
if-
is up. Are you raising it or do you have a question? Your hand on
I'm-
your
I'm-
computer, Tupper.
right, if I raise my hand, what am I saying?
You agree to the 2/3.
All right.
Okay. All right. And
But everybody isn't on Zoom. I mean, everyone isn't
then-
on video.
oh, that's true.
You
Okay.
gotta do a roll call, probably.
You can
All
do the
right,
yellow hand even if you're not on video.
Oh, okay.
I never
Okay.
thought of that. All right. Okay, we have
That's
2,
interesting.
4, 5, 6. I see 6 for 2/3. Is that right, Mac? Can you tell? Too?
I don't think
Yes.
Tupper wanted to be 2/3 though. He's got his hand up.
Oh, Tupper, yeah, you can put your hand down.
Lower, I tried to lower my hand.
So
Yep.
how many are there
1, 2,
of you
3,
now?
4,
7?
5.
Are there
Yeah, that's-
7 votes?
Yeah, you have 5.
Yeah.
I would be interested in hearing, even if that passes from the folks that didn't raise their hand, if there's new ideas.
Oh, there's more than 7.
Looks
4,
like you have
5,
company, Chris.
6, 7, 8. We have 9, 10. So that's 50%. That was 5. That's 50%. So it's kind of tied.
So it goes back to majority?
Yeah, I would say for now. Do
Well,
you want to have further discussion on this majority versus 2/3? Or is everyone okay with majority?
well,
I
Jen is a
would be-
non-voting. Yep.
I would appreciate further discussion. I was
Okay.
moved by Tupper's very succinct and explicit argument as to why a 50% majority makes sense. I don't think I've heard anybody advance quite so clearly why 2/3 would be good. If anybody feels like they have a succinct and strong argument why 2/3 is a good way to go, I would appreciate it.
And this is Catherine, and I would agree with what just Matt said and Tupper's argument. I'm not convinced that 2/3 is necessary for this particular decision about where the school is located. We know the school would be located, a new one would be located within one of the member towns. So there's going to be, as others have said, there's going to be a lot of preliminary discussion and site plans and all those things, town input. A lot of stuff's going to go on before, a site is actually, brought forward to the committee. So I would think by that time, a simple majority would be enough. I would hate to think that 2/3 would hold up something that's gone through an extensive process like that.
I could respond to that on the 2/3 and make sure that the people on the school committee are all in agreement that this is what they want to do. So not just simply a simple majority, you could get them to do it. It just makes sure everybody's in agreement that that's what you want to do. And so it's a firm one. And I agree with, I can see Tupper's point of view, making a majority. And as you just said, the first round of it, you could have it as a majority as opposed to a 2/3. It's an important decision. You want to make sure everybody's buying into it.
Matt, did you have your hand up?
I did. I had one other thing to add, which is that I think what Catherine mentions is important. I think another aspect of Tupper's comment that I had interpreted is that not only are you going to have all of this work that goes in preliminarily, my understanding is that you would have to have 6 member district towns approve of expending the funds to do such a thing inside their annual town meeting. And so from my perspective, it would be great if the school committee is on board with 2/3, but it's kind of moot if you can't get 6 member towns to approve the funding in their annual town meeting. And that's really going to be the critical aspect of a decision like this.
That's a good point.
Yeah, good point. Okay, we've spent a lot of time on this. Can we move on?
Well, Michelle, I had my hand up.
I'm sorry. I didn't see
That's
it.
all right. That's okay.
Let me,
I'm not very well seen right now.
Okay.
Well, the only thing that's missing in this is the timing. I mean, we're talking as if the towns would have whatever town that's being considered has already been vetted and approved, and I don't see anything in this that talks about the timing of this vote. I mean, and I'll throw out for instance, because it can be a political issue where maybe they want to build a new elementary school within a district, and you got 2 towns fighting over where they want it. I want it in my town, you want it in your town. When is this vote actually happening? Because if it's a question of we're going to vote for 2/3 to get consensus over where this is going to be located, and that vote is coming before any sort of such approvals to get the ball rolling, that's one thing. If it's happening after there's been an agreement that a town has agreed to, and everybody's in agreement it's happening, then that's a different issue. So that's my question.
Do you have an answer for that, Mac?
I would believe that it would be early in the process, and that you would build off that decision first by the school committee that you need a new school, and secondly, where they think it should be, and then it would go out to the communities, as Matt said, for support.
If I could add, Madam Chair, the issue is if we're talking an elementary school in a town, is the town going to own it? If they are, then they're going to be paying the full bill on it, not the region, because it won't be a regional school. You're right now, if you take Pioneer and you take Gilmontague regional schools, they're owned by the region, but the elementary schools are owned by the towns. So again, that town would have to then vote and say that they would pay the debt on that building. So again, this is just trying to say the school committee has to be involved in that process. As I said earlier, they represent MSBA and the
That's a good point that Steve has. If you're looking at the wording, it only talks about the school committee making a decision within the town. So if it were an elementary school, the town obviously would be the one making the decision specifically where that elementary school would be built, not the district. It's just for the two regional schools, secondary schools, that this would apply mainly. So
It doesn't really say that.
Move
though.
on.
Yeah. Is everyone
No,
okay to move
no, it
on?
doesn't.
I have my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Tupper.
Yeah, two things. One relevant to this conversation, and that is just the passing remark that ordinarily in this country, we act by majority vote in almost all instances. 2/3 or supermajorities ordinarily called for only for the most important items. And I don't think that this one rises to that, but that's just a passing thought. The other thought is that I would very much appreciate if we could be done with this meeting by 8 o'clock for reasons of national interest.
Okay.
All right. Yes, we're only in first one there, so we better move on.
We
get a chance at the end, whenever it gets to be before 8 o'clock, to vote on everything that you've done so far. So right now, I've inserted the word majority, approved by majority vote of the committee, and we'll move on. So the leases.
Well, Michelle, Catherine's had her hand up for a bit.
Oh,
And I think if we took a poll right now, we would probably get everybody on agreement to just go with a simple majority. But
right.
So,
okay.
Catherine.
Yeah,
my
I don't want to extend the conversation any, but basically, I thought the paragraph should be rewritten because to me, it's still, not understandable. I have no understanding of why site or sites is in there. If the school committee is going to vote on where a new school is going to be constructed, it should be the same kind of statement as the first sentence. And if it's I think it needs to be clarified if elementary versus district. The high school or the regional school. But I'm not going to hold it up any longer than that. I just find that this paragraph doesn't really give anybody enough information about what actually is happening. And in fact, I would think it would even belong in a different lower down in this section of location and lease. But again, I'll go with majority.
Thank you,
Catherine, I agree with all of that.
At the risk of prolonging this, we could end it after the first sentence.
I agree. I agree.
That's the part, just that you want to make sure all the schools are in your towns.
Yes, that says it all. Move on. I agree with that 100%.
All right. Too bad we didn't propose this earlier. All right. So far, I've crossed it out at the moment. All right. Now under leases, I just make a comment that any leases of the elementary schools cannot be longer than for a term of 20 years. That's the law. You can do it less than that, but most every school district just leases them for 20 years, and then obviously you can renew the leases. We've added the concept of the district shall maintain superintendency of the buildings as required by the ESE. It just means that even though an elementary school is owned by the town, the district is responsible for the buildings. So that's the word, why the superintendency is their word, but it just means responsibility. Now, at the end of that paragraph is a new thing, which is being asked of us to put in by DESE. Any single necessary repairs or maintenance work undertaken in any fiscal year with an estimate cost that exceeds $10,000 shall be considered a capital cost and shall be paid solely and entirely by the town in which the building is located. So again, this is only for elementary schools, and that number is an arbitrary number. You can put that at any number, but that's the number that most of the districts that we've been working with have put in there.
Matt, you have your hand up?
For Montague accounting and operational purposes, we recently changed the capital cost threshold upwards from, it had been $5,000, and I can't remember, but is now either $20,000 or $25,000. I know it's well above 10. So I would be in favor. Dorinda, do you remember exactly what it's at now?
I think it's 25.
I think it's 25 too. So, I think I'd be fine with 20, but, I would be more supportive if, to certainly align with our internal procedures to move it up.
Okay. Tupper?
Yeah, I agree with that. That $10,000 figure for capital costs has been around for a long time and has been overrun by inflation a long time ago.
Ginger?
Yes, I would say 20 or 15 at least.
Anyone else?
I like 20.
Yeah, I'd say 20 too. 10 is very low.
All right,
Okay.
20 going once, going twice, 3 times. We'll put that in for now, and again, we'll okay. All right.
Ginger, did you have something you wanted to say?
Already said it.
She said it, yeah.
20 or 15 minimum, I would say.
Madam Chair, I've got to step out for a minute. I gotta go get a power cord. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay.
So right now we have 20 in there, and when we get to the end of the section, we can do something different if we need to.
That's cool.
Number 2 just talks about the leases.
Before we get to that, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I have a question about number 1. We faced in Gill several times, I think, the question of the district wanting to make changes to the inside of the elementary school. And generally, we've taken the position, and I think that the district has agreed that those would be allowed with the town's permission, but would be paid for by the district. And I don't know if you want to get into that kind of detail here, but that is an issue that sort of rides above the question of maintenance. And it's one that I think does come up from time to time, reconfiguring classrooms and cafeterias and that kind of stuff.
I think that's a good question, Tupper. I honestly can't say that I've had somebody mention that before. Why don't we do a little research on that, and next month we'll come back to that specific question. Because pretty soon you're going to see later about insurance that the DESE believes that the town is responsible for the building and the outside for insurance, and that the school district is responsible for anything inside the building. So whether that's going to be parallel or not. So is it okay if we bring back some information about that next time?
Sure.
Matt, you have your hand up?
I did. I think that Tupper makes a good point. I just wanted to ask a question, a follow-up question. I'm not certain of your knowledge. It seems like that's the type of thing that would be addressed in a lease. Do you know if it is addressed inside the lease, Tupper?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say I'm not clear that, but I think it is. I think there's language in the lease that we have that leads to the conclusion that basically the town has control. It can say yay or nay to the change, but the deal is what I said, that the district would pay for it. But I'm not sure of that. It may not be actual language. It may be just what happens. You know, the district may come in and say, we want to make this change, and we say, sure, but you pay for it.
Matt, I think that's the answer, Pat, that
Mm.
it should be in the lease. I think that's the right answer, but we'll do a little more investigating.
Yeah, Mac, if you are doing investigating, I would appreciate it if you could contact the towns in the district to see what their current leases are. That may just give us hopefully something close to consensus.
What we found in most places, the last time anybody looked at a lease was 40 or 50 years ago. But maybe if you've done it more recently, that'll be helpful.
I
I
know,
have a copy. I have
I
a
know-
copy of our lease here somewhere. I'll send it along if I can find it.
I know that Northville recently and Pioneer, looked at the lease, and I think even Berniston. So I just want to, and maybe this belongs in the lease, but you're doing research. I just want to mention, I don't know if it belongs in a regional agreement, but it's certainly a reality and something, if it could be resolved in a regional agreement, that'd be nice. So generally, as budgets get tight, or states cut back funding, and they're trying to maintain the integrity of the teaching and the educational benefits to students, the things that don't get the attention are the maintenance, and you have that word, maintain superintendency. And so what happens, and I know Mac as a superintendent, you've probably seen this, what happens over time is the general maintenance of something doesn't get attention, and then it eventually gets to the point that it crosses the threshold, because now they have to do a much bigger project because they didn't have the funds to do it when they could. And that's been an ongoing problem, I think, in any district that I've been in. And again, I don't know if it can be in the regional agreement, or we want to somehow make it clear that it's the expectations, however you word it, that regular maintenance can be would be taken attention. Generally, it refers to, this kind of thing refers to operating systems of a school, the heating system, the air conditioning, and things like that, of course, are going to end up in the capital side. But if there's a way to think about and address that, fine. If that's not realistic, then let's just forget it and move on. Thank you for listening.
This may be too obtuse, but I think that's the point of the comment, the letter, the wording of maintain superintendency. That is what the ESC is saying. The district is responsible for maintaining the superintendency, the responsibility of the building. So I think that's the point of that.
Okay.
It may not be clear enough, but
I could add the other point of that is also that the daily operation of education in that building is under the school committee, the superintendent, and it's not, the town can't come in and say, do this or this, and how you're going to run the building. It has to be that they have control of the building for purpose of education.
okay, number 2, I think is nothing controversial. It just says that the leases are to be negotiated between the select board of that town and the school committee. So that's a pretty typical thing. So
I've got 2 hands up, Mac. Greg
okay.
and Tupper.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of curious. Tupper, can you give me an example of, I mean, I've been, chairing the capital improvements committee for the last 10 years, and I can't think of any Gill Elementary School project that we haven't paid for, that the school, because the school district proposes their they're capital projects within the elementary school, and I'm not sure what you're referring to. So, do you have an example? I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know what you're referring to.
I can't remember exactly what they were, but I do remember that issue coming up. Could it have to do with doors and those things that we were working on at one point?
Well, the security doors have all been funded through our town.
Well, I just don't remember. But
Okay,
I did,
you may be right. I don't know of any of those projects but
well,
okay, it's okay.
I wanted to say that one way to deal with this is to provide that the town is responsible for capital projects, provided that they have not arisen due to a failure of maintenance.
I agree.
Yeah. No, that's reasonable for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
That was my point, trying to get that. Thanks, Tupper.
It all ends in litigation anyways.
Hire a lawyer.
All right,
Number
Matt,
three is,
you can.
thank you, Michelle. So number 3 is what I referenced before, that the member town shall ensure at its expense the buildings, facilities, and grounds so leased, and the district shall ensure the contents of the buildings. That is a new concept, but again, one that the DESE has encouraged us to include because the town owns those buildings, and so therefore they should ensure the building itself, but that the district needs to ensure all the equipment and technology and everything that's inside.
How about liability insurance?
Yes, both parties need to have liability insurance.
I don't agree with that.
Oh, Jane has joined us. Hi, Jane.
Hi, what's wrong with the district handling all of the insurance?
That's up to you.
Town owns the buildings.
Building and everything.
It's
Pioneer
because
right now, the district pays all the insurance. The district insures the buildings, the liability, the facilities, everything.
generally it's because the district doesn't own the schools. The district, I'm sure, has the insurance for inside and outside of the high school and middle schools, but that because the district owns those buildings, but the elementary schools
I
are
forget
owned
if
by
it's part of the district agreement or if it's part of the lease. But the district does pay all the insurances.
If you want that to happen, you can do that, but generally is that the building insurance and liability is paid by the elementary school, is paid by the town, and then the contents by the district. It's usually the district is buying the materials, the desk, textbooks and all of that. But again, however you want it, if you want it that this district responsible, so you can. But the town would still have to carry liability insurance because they own the building.
So what's the pleasure of the committee on this issue?
I don't know about the committee, but I would say if the town owns the building, then the town should be responsible for the insurance of the liability and outside the building, but I don't feel real strongly about it. That's my thought.
Tupper?
Yeah, if the building burns down, it's the town's loss. It's not the committee's loss or the district's loss. So it seems to me that it ought to be the town that pays to cover that risk. The other thought is that if we make the district pay for the building insurance, it'll come back at us in turn by way of assessment anyway.
That's true. Ginger?
Very special for me.
I agree with the previous two speakers.
My grandma gave that to me when I was your age.
You agree with the previous two that the town should pay the insurance on the building. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. Can you put both your hands down, Tupper and Ginger?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Time check, just so that
Yeah.
Matt's aware where we are.
All right, well, we'll leave that as it is, and we'll get to the end and vote on the whole section. All right, now, number 4. We have a 4 here. The district is hereby authorized to lease from the member towns their respective premises and buildings listed below. Now, we've done about 15 or 20 regional agreements, and I think virtually all of them, there may be a couple not, we have not listed the towns because people feel like, well, what if the name of the school changes? What if a school is moved or closed? Then your regional agreement is not correct anymore. So usually this line would be, you can see the district is hereby authorized to lease from the member towns any school in the towns used for elementary school purposes. So you have a choice, you can have whatever choices you want, but at least a choice between listing the schools and hoping that they stay the same for quite a long time, or being more general and just saying the district can lease any elementary schools that are in the towns. So again, that's up to you.
Matt? I mean, Matt?
Jane.
Oh, go ahead.
It's
Jane.
I was going to take Jane first.
Well, I prefer the or, but if it's going to stay the one above, I think the town is Nat Turner's fault. So I think it's town of Montague. Somebody from
Sorry.
Montague can correct me on that.
I'd agree.
Okay, so Alan, I saw you next.
Yeah. So I was wondering if we could do both, because I like the or part and how that's written, and that seems like futuristic language, and I like that. So at the exception of the inception of this district, since there's a concern and people want their own elementary schools in their towns and so forth, if there was language in there that said, as we begin this, this is where the schools are, and then it could acquiesce to something like, in the event the above were to change, and then you have the or, because I think it would be comfortable for people, particularly if they're voting on this, to say, oh yeah, we still have our school as we start, but who knows what happens over time. So I would like to see some kind of a blend, so we have something familiar and something futuristic.
Okay, Dorinda?
It's Montague's intent to close Hillcrest as soon as we can build an addition on Sheffield, like as soon as the funding, we're trying to get in the MSBA pipeline. So to me, that's if we had this in there, it sort of could be a no-go immediately in it being valid.
And Tupper?
Would it be helpful just to add a number 7, which would be any other school used for elementary school purposes?
Okay, do you want to take a straw vote, or do you want to wait till the end of this? Because
I was just trying to address Alan's interest.
Oh, Alan, your hand is up again?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No,
That's what I thought.
I was thinking in my head how I could think of some language that could, and I'm thinking of Dorinda's comment, because, you know, if it's how it's delivered when it gets on town meeting floor. So if it's delivered that this was an earmark in the event funding didn't come through or whatever, this is what we have right now. But there's language that it could change, and if it does, you can add an addition or do whatever.
Ellen, is that possibly a red flag for people? If you note that things could change, would people want to hear that when they're trying to decide if they want to get your 6 towns together? I don't know, I'm just wondering.
Catherine?
I would support just having the or. So that's one sentence in there. I don't see that anybody would not understand that the existing schools that are going to continue. I find that to be not very persuasive to me, that if I to see, first of all, because we go to Bernardston, Leiden goes to Bernardston's elementary school, and we pay some of the costs there. So, but I think that the or set is fine, and most people will understand that any school in the town used for elementary purposes means the elementary schools in the town that are there.
Catherine, I'm persuaded. I'm fine with the or language as well.
Is that okay with everyone? Tupper, your hand's still up?
Yeah, wouldn't we want to change the or to and?
No, that's the
No.
or different language. That's all.
Right.
That's a standalone. You could have the above, or you could have this. So all the above would be gone if we accept the district is hereby authorized. So that's a standalone.
I thought, Alan, your idea was to have them both, so the towns can see the listing to make them feel more secure now, but to have the second one also available if it was needed in the future.
You are right on. That's exactly what I was saying. But I listened carefully, and I understand what Dorinda's comment is as well. And Matt, when he said, that can be a red flag, I think it is assumed, and people would believe that, it's going to continue, and over time things could change. So if that was just standalone language, that's fine.
Chris?
I was just going to comment that I got confused in that conversation as well. And we just want to make sure that we're talking about we're adopting one of these two and not both of them. And that when we say the or, we're actually saying the generic version that's at the bottom of section B.
Yeah.
Jane?
I just read the or again, and I think it needs to have, let's see, that is to remember towns, any school in the towns used by the district for elementary school purposes. And I just, we have an elementary school in Bernardston that is a private elementary school.
That's a good point.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
If we go with that, we'll add that.
Yeah.
And not to prolong this, but I wonder if, in terms of voting, like, people in certain towns require guarantees. Like, we're not entering unless we definitely have our school. And, is it here or is it elsewhere that we're sort of clear on what schools are entering into this district? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, Gill wants to keep its school,
hear
Warwick wants to keep its school, or it's no go. Like, where in this are we sure that they have those schools?
This does not guarantee those schools, this section for sure. It just says these are the current schools. So, and I don't believe there's anything in this document that guarantees all of these schools will live on in perpetuity.
Right. And that's why I made the comment that if there was a benchmark that at the inception of this agreement, this is what we have, and then you have that as an attachment to it instead of a standalone. So that was, I thought there'd be comfort in knowing that going into it, but maybe I confuse things.
Okay, so I think we have to take a pause. Tupper, do you have another point?
Yeah, following up on what you all were saying, I'm wondering whether this item 4 shouldn't say that immediately upon the final execution of this agreement, the district shall enter into a lease with the member towns with respect to the following premises. Nail it down, nail it down. Tell the towns we're going to do it.
That's an interesting point.
You have other provisions for closing schools, but the towns will want to know that going in, their school is there.
Dorinda?
Yeah, sorry, I keep complicating it. I'm in favor of the second one, but is there a way to sort of, that people know what they're voting on? Because that's what people are going to be most concerned about, I think, is their own town school and then the finances around everything. Like, is there language that sort of confirms that, we're entering into this with all of the current elementary schools? I just don't, I want to make it as
you want to make
easy
it
for
clean.
people to vote yes.
Yeah, very clear, plain.
That's
I
what
agree.
That's what I was
Jane,
suggesting.
oh, sorry. Jane, you have another comment?
Yeah, Kevin. I'm sorry. My brain is moving too slow or too fast. I don't know which. The or could also, besides adding the district in there, it could have a sentence that says the current elementary schools are, and then list those 6.
You mean right under lease of schools first?
The district
line?
is hereby authorized to lease from the member towns any school in the towns used by the district for elementary school purposes. Currently, those schools are.
Oh, okay.
Or as of.
Yes, as of
September 5th, 2025.
Yep.
We could do that.
That blends it. That addresses my original concern.
And Greg?
Yeah, I kind of side with Tupper on this one. I think having the words shall enter into an agreement just will politically will make it more comfortable for the towns to vote on it. And it could be, shall enter into the, into lease agreements with the current elementary schools as stated.
Mm-hmm. You got all that, Mac?
I do. And that puts a lot of responsibility or pressure on the school committee. If, of course, they could enter into a lease agreement for 2 years, I suppose.
Right.
But we wouldn't want them to think that they have to, because before they said lease agreements can be 20 years. We wouldn't want the school committee to be bound by, they have to have a 20-year lease with all these 6 buildings. I don't think that would be right.
No, it doesn't have to state a term, for the lease. Like you said, it could be, it's just putting their minds at ease that their schools are not being closed at the inception of a new district. That's all.
So some wordsmithing sounds like.
Right. Yeah, but I think you got it. I think you got it with Jane's comment, and then whoever said at the exception of this agreement, the a lease shall be blah, 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 for the following schools. And there, that says it all.
Greg, do you have another comment or are your hand still up?
No, sorry.
It's okay. All right.
One of the things that we'll do next time is we'll review the language that obviously that my colleagues and I come up with, but hopefully will represent what you're asking. So then the next issue is the location and grade configuration, which in a report that we did previously several years ago, we recommended that the Pioneer Valley Regional School become the middle school for the new district, and that Turner's Falls High School should become the regional high school for the district. So that's one issue that you need to think about. The other issue is I think your two superintendents may have different ideas about this, but is the middle school going to be 6, 7, and 8, or is it going to be just 7 and 8? So I don't know if
I actually have sort of an update from Pioneer. The
Okay.
school committee voted last Thursday to have the superintendent look into moving the 6th grade up to Pioneer. I mean, it's going to take a while to research it, provide data, have community involvement in that decision.
That's good.
Sorry.
So it might end up being 6, 7, 8
Mhm.
at Pioneer.
My understanding is the superintendent in Gil Montague would like to have his 6th grade stay in Gil. So I don't know how this issue is going to get resolved. It's has to be one. I mean, it's conceivable that you could have a middle school with 6, 7, and 8 with 5 towns going to that middle school and Gil keeping it 6th grade. You could write that into the agreement.
Yes.
But somehow
Okay.
that's got to be
We
resolved.
got a couple hands. Dorinda?
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity. I think, I don't know the history with Gil, but sending your 6th grader to a high school building feels a lot different than sending your 6th grader to a building with 7th and 8th graders. I think it would be easier to get people on board with this. There's already issues like 6th graders in Gil are using an elementary curriculum while they're using a middle school curriculum at the Great Falls Middle School. There's already things that are sort of uneven, and it's some historical thing, but I think if there's a real middle school, we should just say it's 6 to 8 for everybody. There's no reason like these 15 kids are different than everybody else, in my opinion.
Tepper, you in next?
Yeah, I can confirm that Gil, the town of Gil, everybody in it are adamant about about protecting our 6th grade against any change or threat of change. But beyond that, I'm astounded we're even talking about this. It seems to me that after 4 years of study on the subject of creating this new school district, this is an issue that the board should be addressing. This is a drafting committee that I'm on. I agreed to help drafting an agreement, but I didn't agree to get into the substance, the nitty gritty, the most important substantive issues, because I wasn't part of this long investigation where all of this, I assume, was studied in detail. So I don't know why we're addressing it here.
So Tepper, if I may, Michelle, because I think my hand was raised next. Tepper, you said pretty much what I was going to say in terms of, I think this should be reviewed and accepted and moved on for a big part of the reason you said. When we talked and went out in community forums and talked to staff and so forth, it has been stated numerous times that the plan is to have the high school in Turners Falls and have the middle school at Pioneer. So that has been in all the literature, everything we've said. So to me, we ought to review it, make sure it's consistent with what the planning board has been moving along with, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on that. What was open was we kind of assumed that it would be 6, 7, 8, and that Pioneer may decide if they just didn't want to send their 6th grade there, or Gill. But I think putting it in there at 6, 7, 8 that would go to the middle school. That's the purpose of having a good population and teachers to collaborate and so forth. And that Gil Montague is 9 through 12. We should just move along with that.
Greg? Greg, are you there?
He's on mute. He may not.
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, sorry. I was trying. I lost my square, and I was trying to find my unmute button. Yeah, I would just reiterate that we're trying to pass something that's politically acceptable for all towns, and Gil feels very strongly about this. And we have talked about this, Tupper, and the assumption was that elementary schools would not change, both in composition and how they operate. So it was always sort of the assumption to me that yes, if we had a 6 through 8 middle school, that the agreement would still remain the same, that Gil would have the opportunity to have the choice to keep it 6th grade the way it functions now, which is, about half the 6th graders go on to Great Falls, and half of them tend to stay because they want the 6th grade experience within the elementary school. So that was my understanding. It wasn't my understanding that we were going to change that because that is how our elementary schools operate currently.
Ray, can I just tell you a point of order that would be up to the parents, because it'd be intra-school choice. And if 6th grade parents wanted their kids to go, they should have the choice to do that. But you could have language in there that provides that opportunity for kids or parents to decide.
Right, and that was discussed early on, and that we did agree that it would be addressed in the district agreement.
All right, I'm going to take Catherine's question, but I want to do a time check. It's 7:45.
Okay, thank you. And it's a suggestion, but with what Greg said, that this was going to be taken up in the district agreement, I was just trying to propose something here that would get away from the political decision about how many grades it is, and just suggesting that it says something like the Pioneer Valley Regional School shall serve middle school students. And then the next sentence would be the Turners Falls High School. So C would be secondary schools listed below shall be owned by the district. The Pioneer Valley Regional School shall serve middle school students, the Turners Falls High School, and then the second one would just say the Turners Falls High School, without going into the grades at all, if that was discussed, for the many years that the board had worked on that. It's just a suggestion.
Chris?
I'll just briefly comment that I kind of really agreed with what Tupper said, that this doesn't feel like this feels like a material aspect of the overall strategy and not something for the contract drafting committee to really be mulling over. But it sounds like that decision was kind of left open around this. And I will point out that it feels incongruent that one school would operate differently, and that the overall benefit that we're trying to sell here is about increasing enrollment overall for those grades, that it just sticks out a little bit, but I also want to move along.
Okay, what do we want to do? It's 7:47 now.
Well, can I
Yeah.
just say that before you end the meeting, I just have a couple comments I need to make before you adjourn
Yeah,
and make
we're not-
sure, yeah.
I'm not ending it. Tupper, do you have one more comment?
I'm afraid I do. Whatever is decided here, I think it needs to end up with some very clear language in the district agreement that protects the elementary schools that want to keep their sixth grades, not only from an immediate transfer, but also from the kind of political pressure and sort of creep that we've seen in the past. For instance, I have in mind a time when the rising sixth grade students, I guess they were fifth graders, were invited down to Turner's Falls to see the sixth grade down there as a kind of way of persuading them to come down there. And of course, the reverse wasn't true. In other words, some organized pressure was put on to get people to change. And I don't know how we can solve that, but I do think it's an issue of concern at Gill, and I want to make sure that we don't have an agreement that we then manage to undermine in the future with that kind of effort. In other words, if there is a sixth, seventh, and eighth grade at Pioneer, it tends to create pressure for everybody to be there. And I think the language in the agreement ought to make it clear that no such pressure is intended. I don't know what more to say about it, and I think we better move on.
Yep. Okay, Mac, I'm going to
Michelle,
ask you to say a few words, I guess.
I've made some notes as you've all been speaking. What if we try to give you maybe 4 or 5 scenarios with the different things that we've heard, and next time you can look at those and see if one of them meets the committee's needs.
But Mac, please in that
think about
effort, please in that effort, Mac, be very mindful that we have made it clear that high school is going to Turner's Falls, middle school is going to Pioneer, and that those both facilities would remain open, and that's where those educations would be happening. So that's consistent with what the planning board has talked about and agreed upon all this time.
So it's just a question about the 6th grade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Changing the wording, maybe. Okay, well, something was, I'm looking at the agenda. General discussion, potential creation of additional subcommittees. Is that what you wanted to talk about, Alan?
Yeah, it is. So I've been looking at the regional agreement and thinking of, how much work that we have in front of us. And it's a little bit to Tupper's point in terms of there are certain things that that the planning board could have some working groups to focus on some things to maybe have a better use of our time. So for example, we have to have a name of the district before any document goes to DESI. And it seems that a working group of, hopefully a planning board, couple planning board members, and maybe someone on this group, but would solicit some other people to be on it, and that they would work together and come up with a name. The financial piece of it, we have people in town that have very strong feelings about it, and they've been working with this. We've had success, the 6-town regional planning board, when we brought the towns together and presented financial information. And so I'm wondering if that would be something that we should repeat and have them look at capital expenditures or assessments, OPED obligations, how the transportation assessment would go, and all of those nitty gritty things. Maybe that could be broken down into a couple of working groups where the people that are in the towns and probably have some strong feelings about what they'd like to see, they can get together and have a meeting of the minds, and then we have the working group bring that forward to this group and share with, you know, what they feel could happen. Because at this rate, and I'm not being critical, I love the fact that we're having, I'm learning a lot through this dialogue and different perspectives, but we will run out of time and our timeline if we get bogged down in some of this stuff that perhaps a working group could hand on. So I did want to mention it because I didn't want you to feel that, you know, I'm trying to take work away. I'm actually trying to make us more efficient and focusing on the things that the DRAS committee could be focusing on, like we are in big detail, and having some of these other things handling working groups. And I haven't even decided what those working groups would be. I'm planning a full board meeting in the next, I think it's second week in August, to talk about this and to see what things that they think might be effective in working groups. And I wanted you to have a heads up of what I was thinking. And if we have any financial gurus on here, which we do, you know, you might want to hop on one of those working groups as well that dives into things a little more. That's it.
So
Okay.
I have 3 thoughts on this. I think it's very well intentioned, and I understand where it is that you're coming from. When you discussed it before, I was slightly like, hey, I signed up to, you know, to do this stuff, and I want to do this stuff, and it's so there was that feeling. I understand where you're coming from. Second thought is there's nothing preventing us from doing ad hoc stuff with work like that. And I actually thought about trying to get people together to do something ad hoc in advance of this meeting tonight from folks from Montague. But schedule and time is difficult, which sort of leads into the third one, which is like, I really hope that it could work, but I am skeptical of the resource base from which you could draw that on, which sort of circles back around to the first one, which is like, I don't want to end up on 4 different subcommittees just to do the same type of thing.
Right.
So like those are just like my thoughts. I'm not saying yes or no. Again, like I think that your intention here is very valid, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness on that. And I hope that this or some other way can work to make sure that we are as efficient as possible.
And I appreciate that, Matt. Maybe you might want to, you and one other person, like take off in an ad hoc group, like a financial aspect, and you know, kind of work your way through that. When my thinking first started, it was like, wait a minute. If we're talking about a name of a regional school district, we probably need to involve kids, parents, you know, staff. You know, that's a big item. And I just couldn't see how we could manage it in our forum. And so that's what started the thinking of, we're going to need some working groups to get more perspectives on some stuff like that. And then that sort of meandered it into, well, you know, maybe we should do that for finances and so forth. So I'm open to any suggestions. And if I would appreciate it if you guys have my email, I think, if each of you could send me your phone number, so that because I have different comments and different ideas, and I think I would be best served if I actually got to talk to you in person, or, you know, on the phone, to be able to have that congeal my own thinking. So if people would be willing to do that, I would very much appreciate it.
Okay. I just wanted to say I don't have any more bandwidth to do any more meetings. So it sounds like a lot. And I understand about the name. Yeah, I think we need more input, but as far as finances, I think is more straightforward. That's just my opinion. There might be other things in the district agreement that definitely need more
Yeah.
community input. Jane has her hand up.
Yeah, and I was going to reach out to Jane in particular to talk about what her thoughts were about this aspect. So Jane, your hand's up.
My hand is up because I'm hearing ad hoc groups and I ought to get phone numbers and talk to people. And so I just want to issue a warning. Let's be careful because we do have the open meeting law.
Right. There would be
And
no serial.
we don't want anybody sending charges against us for violating the open meeting law. That's all I'm going to say.
No, and thank you. These are
Well
not
taken.
serial conversations at all. These are not serial conversations. This is me collecting data and thinking about how might to proceed.
Well, but ad hoc is not.
Oh,
serious.
no. No, ad hoc committees, they're subject to the open meeting law. They've got to post meetings, keep minutes, and have a way for the public to, tune in if they want. The working
Well, wait a
groups, whatever you
second.
call them.
If I want to talk to the Montague Town Planner and somebody on the Montague School Committee, and even Dorinda as a Finance Committee person, we could, the 5 of us, 6 of us could all get together, and if that would not be an open meeting issue because there's no quorum representing this committee and the other individuals aren't associated at all. That's the type of thing I'm talking about.
Okay, and that's different than what
Yeah.
I'm talking about in terms of working groups that
Right.
are going to have some representation and be sanctioned by the planning board to do this task.
Yeah, I didn't want to make anybody defensive. I just wanted to remind us all about open meeting. It's so easy to forget it. Because it's such a ridiculous chore sometimes.
Yep.
Who said that?
On
Michelle,
a 3-member select board, I never forget.
Michelle,
So
your
are
response?
we gonna try to end this at 8 o'clock?
Yes, I
Yes.
was just going to say something to Mac. I was going to say, Mac, do you want to say some last words?
Let's just, we'll wrap it up. And I had Tupper's early comment on my mind. We can do this last piece about closing a school. We'll start off with that next time. And we'll have some revisions and some suggestions for some of the things that we've talked about. And we'll just start with that next time and keep going forward. So I think we're fine to end tonight.
Are we okay with the August 28th date? And can we look at a potential September date?
Okay.
We're supposed to be on the fourth Wednesdays of the month, right?
That's what I thought.
Well, I don't think Greg can make that meeting, and I didn't know if a week earlier could work.
I can't make the August 28th.
Right. So if
Right.
we had it on the either the Tuesday, whatever that was, the week before, or the Thursday.
Well, I think we're doing the full board meeting the week before on Tuesday.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
On
just
So
to
could,
give you,
could we do
Deal.
Thursday, Michelle? That's not a school committee meeting, right?
I think it is. Hold on. I don't have my phone. Wait a minute. Let
I
me see
can't
if
do the
can pull up my
Thursday.
calendar. I don't think I can do that Thursday. There might be another meeting.
Can Chris?
What's the date?
Thursday, go ahead.
yeah, Alan, I had us down as a DRAS meeting on the 22nd anyways, as a tentative. We had scheduled that sort of tentatively. That's
Yeah.
fine. I can't do the 28th or 9th.
Yeah,
can't
I
do
would
the
like
9th.
Talking about August or September?
August.
August 22nd is what I had penciled in for our next meeting, the
Okay.
DRAS meeting. Can that
I
work?
have a school committee meeting on the 22nd.
I'm free on the 22nd of August.
Okay.
I'm
so Chris-
free on the 22nd of August.
All right, so Chris, you could share it.
You can share it, yeah.
That's the fourth Thursday.
No, that's the
Yes.
third.
No, it is the
The fourth
4th. Yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
is
the
the
4th.
4th.
Okay,
Yeah.
good,
The
good.
4th is-
I have a fire Station Building Committee on the fourth Thursday of every month.
So can,
But Steve, hopefully Jay can be there and Steve.
yeah, okay. What about, September?
So are we set on the 22nd?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
How about September?
That would be the
September
26th.
26, yeah.
I can't do that, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can't do that, anything that week, but that's all right. I trust you all to go move ahead.
We have to make sure we have a quorum. How many can't make it?
What's the date again?
26?
25.
Yeah, we're doing Wednesdays, right?
Oh, yeah, 25. That's right. Thank you, Dorinda. Yeah, 25.
Can we do
Oh,
the
no,
25th?
I'm not gonna make that one. My wife's out of town. I can't do bedtime and this.
Yeah, I'm out of town on the 25th.
Didn't
So
we already
that's
have days?
two.
I've seen days in my calendar and these days are different.
Well, what do you have for this September?
I saw the 11th. Did we set the August 14th and September 11th? Maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe
Well,
it got messed up.
I think those were earlier dates.
Mhm.
And then we went to the fourth Wednesday, and just kind of kept that as
I have it down for the 25th of September
Yeah.
already.
So who can make the 25th?
I
If you
can.
put your hand up, we got
And
1, 2, 3. Oh, not Tupper, not, we don't
1,
have
2,
enough.
3, 4,
Not-
5, 6.
Not sure, Alan. I'm not sure yet.
Oh.
But my life's in transition, as you know.
That's why I wanted to try to do September now, because it's only going to get worse.
well, there's also people who aren't on this call.
Right. I think let's just keep it the 4th Wednesday of the month and go
And
there.
that's when? September, what, 25th?
26. Yeah.
25th,
The fourth Thursday is 26.
but it's the
Wednesday.
fourth Wednesday.
No, it's
Wednesday.
Wednesday, Tupper.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for
Yeah.
August. Then it
What
is
was-
a Thursday.
Right.
Can I ask on the August date? The 22nd is a Thursday, 21st?
That's correct. That's
You're gonna go on a Thursday, not a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
We like to keep the world confused.
Okay, Michelle.
So the 22nd of,
I'm not going to be there on the 22nd, but Chris is going to chair.
all right. And if you could get out the, obviously get these materials out, we can review them. Does everyone have the, like the document that, I think you sent it out earlier to everybody that, here's the regional agreement that Mars did in case anyone wanted to look ahead to see where we're headed with all of the changes. And maybe you're not ready for that, Steve. I don't know. Or Matt.
You're talking about the Hart agreement, right?
Well, I'm talking about your latest and greatest agreement that you're working off of that Jane had brought up at the the town meeting of the 3 towns.
I think we agreed at the beginning that we were working off the Hart agreement, and that's what
Yeah.
we are.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
You have that, Alan. You have that got sent to you.
Yeah, I have it. I didn't know. Okay. I didn't know if anyone, we can keep on doing what we're doing.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I just make one
Yes.
comment? I wasn't here at the beginning, so maybe someone has already said this. Steve Nestenpower is not here tonight because his wife died suddenly yesterday.
Oh.
Ooh.
So, you kind of keep him in your prayers, send him a card, whatever. That's all I know.
Oh my goodness.
Last evening, suddenly.
Huh.
So
Okay.
I thought you might like to know that.
No,
Yeah,
thank you, Jane.
you.
And I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All right.
It's not debatable, so let's take that roll call vote.
Yeah, I was trying to get my view better. All right, Jane, I'll start with you. Greg,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Matt,
I,
Catherine,
Yes.
Dorinda,
Aye.
and Michelle, aye. Did I miss anyone? Tupper, I think, left.
No,
Yeah,
he's
he's
there.
muted.
Oh, is he
Got it.
here?
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm here.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
I also vote yes.
And everyone be
Oh,
aware that
right.
you're invited to the Sixtown Regional Planning Board meeting as well. If you'd like to come and just watch what's going on, you know, it's open to everybody. So if I see a quorum of you, I'll have you call to order just to watch. But you know, don't forget you have that open if you'd like to see what's going on there. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
right.